is correct. It, it is not in the best interest of kids. The research doesn't pull out. The research does not show that it's to the best advantage of children to retain them. There are other things that happen later on down the road. And the main reason that we don't support the retention law as it is written is it hinges on one piece of data, and a child is not one piece of data. A child is multifaceted. There are all kinds of pieces of data that we consider in Kingsport City Schools when we're looking at retention. We just would ask that that same benefit be given to all children, is that we be able to look at a lot of different pieces of data for children.
Thank you. And then I saw where you invited a lot of legislators to come out, and then you said where one of them actually texted you and said that he wasn't able to make it. Did he provide a statement or anything?
He did not provide a statement. He just said, I can't make it tonight, but we can talk later, basically.
And are you okay saying which one it was?
No, because I don't want people to know that I have his cell phone number.
Okay. Well, thank you. All right, and then about the parents coming out, and I know you're urging them to contact the legislators, and then how can parents get more information about this law, and what more can they do?
So the PowerPoint that we have presented tonight is going to be posted. As a matter of fact, Dr. True said it's going to be posted on our school website, on our district website. He's probably going to post it later on tonight, so it will be available. There are many links in that presentation. The links will take you to State Department releases, they'll take you to a legislative overview, they'll take you to a state frequently asked questions. So those links are going to be very important in that document once we get it uploaded.
And then you have questions?
It's commonly said, and one of the lawmakers told me this, he didn't mean to be trite, but he said it's commonly said that third grade is when you more or less stop learning to read as much as you do read to learn. He said seventh grade math is sort of a somewhat similar thing. And from their point of view, I think they're willing to consider some different things and maybe some additional data points, but they're saying that it has to be something that is, I won't say concrete, but that is sort of they're looking for something like, well, we've fixed this problem, or we're fixing it, and we've done this and we've done that. It's hard to, you can make data say whatever you want to, but how do you respond to something like that? Because that seems to be the genesis of a lot of this.
And I would say that there are things that makes sense to me, and I have heard both of those sayings before, that third grade is the pivotal year for learning to read, but learning to read starts in grades before that, and we've had a pandemic, and so we're talking about a group of kids that have had interrupted instruction. And in a good year, in a good time when there was no pandemic, not all children learn to read at the same rate. It's like when they run the Boston Marathon. Not all of the top runners all run at the same time. For kids, learning to read it happens at their own pace. And some kids don't learn to read until maybe even fourth or fifth grade. Some learn to read much earlier. We have some kids that come in the door and know to read. The flaw that we see with the law is that it's based on one data point that's not even a reading test.
It tests for multiple things: writing, comprehension, convention.
Yep, those things. I would like to see a reworking of it. It's not that I don't think that we need some checkpoints, some signposts along the way for reading, but I think that it's one of those things that lawmakers need to consider, not lobbyists that make tests or whoever it is that they're listening to, but they need to listen to people that do that every day and look at other ways of measuring how kids read, like listening to them read. That would take way more manpower though, and that's not an easily easily defined box to check. So, and that was a lot of run-on sentences. I'm sorry.
We won't cut your TCAP grade for that, or TCAP.
Well, again, if it's a reading, I can be a 2 on the speaking part.
You got anything else?
I
Or?
don't. Is there just anything else you want people to know, or?
I just want parents to know that we have taught reading for many years. We will continue to teach children to read. But retaining children is not the answer to a interrupted reading of a child experience, a reading learning experience for a child. Retention is not the answer for this. If I could ask anything, it's that legislators would put retention back in the hands of those who know the child the most. Those that know that they bust out crying when they have a test. Those that know and have heard them read day after day after day and can ask them questions about texts and the child knows the answer. They just can't replicate it on a test. It's like I could recite the preamble in high school, but if you made me sit down and write it, it just didn't have the same rhythm and rhyme to it. There's some things that you just do. I remember a second grader when she told her teacher, I was there, she said, I'll use the name Smith. Miss Smith, you taught me to read and now I can't stop. I read everything. I read signs, I read billboards, I read every can in the grocery store. In other words, she was driving her mom crazy, and her mom said, yes, she's driving me crazy. But the beauty of that is watching a kid and knowing that they know how to read. It's just magical when they do, and you're not going to catch that magic on a test. You're just not.